Hey guys, I'm Sarah and welcome back to my channel for another episode of Sarah's Kitchen. I know what you might be thinking, another cooking video. I said I'd do multiple things, which I will, I promise. But right now I'm just focusing on cooking because I find that that's what you guys like most. So if you guys have any other requests for any other kind of video, let me know in the comments down below and I'll try to do that next. Back to today's video. Today I'm going to be making polpette, aka meatballs. If you've watched my intro video, you know that I'm from Italy, more specifically Sicily. My grandma had this perfect meatball recipe. Whenever she would make them, I would be like literally so happy, and I'm just trying to, you know, get this feeling back. So I'm gonna take you through the ingredients so that you guys can make them too at home. Today our main ingredient is going to be our ground meat. I am using ground beef. You could use a blend or a different kind of ground meat. That's perfectly fine. That's just what my nonna used to use, so I prefer to use beef. Then right here I have some day-old baguette, that's about 1/4 of a baguette, some breadcrumbs, some pecorino and some parmigiano reggiano, 2 eggs, some mint leaves, this is dried mint leaves. Then right here I have some onion powder and some red cayenne pepper. I have some black pepper and some fresh garlic. And then for our sauce, we're not going to need much. We're going to need some finely chopped carrots, some onion, some garlic also, and some basil leaves. And then we're also going to need some seasoning and our tomato puree, but I'll show you that when we get there. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to soak our day-old bread because it's a little tough, and even if you're using fresh bread, you still want to soak it. So the reason I'm using day-old bread is because that's what I grew up doing. So that it wouldn't go to waste, my grandma would always use it to make polpette. So what this is going to do is that it's going to add moisture to your meatballs. A lot of people, for moisture, they just, you know, add some milk, and you could do that if you wanted to, but I just find that the milk alters the texture and the taste sometimes. So if we use fresh bread or, you know, day-old bread, it's perfectly fine. The texture isn't going to change. It's just going to be more moist, and, you know, it's going to taste the exact same because we're already using regular breadcrumbs in it anyway. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let our bread soak on the side until it's nice and softened, and we're gonna move on to the rest of our preparation. So the first thing we're going to add to our ground beef is our eggs. I'm using 2 eggs because I have quite a lot of beef here, but if you wanted, you could use 1. If you're gonna cut this recipe in half, just use 1. I will have all the measurements in the description as usual anyway. Then I'm going to add our cheese, but first I'm going to mix them all together so that it can be well combined when it goes in. Then we're adding our mint leaves. This is mint that I have dried myself. You could use fresh mint if you have it. Now we're going to add about half of our breadcrumbs. And then I'm going to grate in some garlic. The reason I'm grating my garlic in rather than cutting little bits of it and putting it in is because I find that this way you get the most flavor and you also don't get big chunks of garlic in your food. Then I'm adding my spices in, and then we're adding our black pepper. So my bread has softened, so we're gonna start adding it into our mixture. This isn't a very glamorous thing to do, but it does the job and it works. Make sure your hands are well washed when you do this. You're gonna cut chunks of it and you're gonna squeeze out a little bit of the water because you just don't want it to be watered down, and then you're gonna add it to your meatballs. Alright, so now we're gonna start the mixing. As you can tell, our bread was really nice and soaked. You want to make sure that your bread is literally soggy and super soft. You don't want big chunks. Everything should just, you know, fall apart. Make sure you squeeze all the water out before adding it to your mixture, because your bread being soaked adds enough moisture and you don't need the extra water. So now we're gonna start mixing it. And you could do this with a spoon, but you're not gonna, you know, get the same effect. You're not gonna be able to combine everything really well, so I recommend doing it with your hands. If your mixture is still really wet, kind of like mine, you should just add a little bit of breadcrumbs. I'm gonna add the rest of mine. I'm just gonna mix it in. Alright, so our meatball mixture is all nice and combined. What we're gonna do is we're gonna let it sit on the side while we prepare our tomato sauce, and then we're gonna come back to this and shape our meatballs. Alright, so first things first, we're going to add some olive oil to our pan. I'm adding, you know, about 2 tablespoons. Then we are going to add our diced carrots. because they take the longest to cook, so that's why I'm adding them right with it, I am going to add my garlic. So as you can tell, our carrots are becoming a little bit more golden, and so is our garlic. So we're going to add our onion now. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to let our onion cook with our carrots while we start shaping our meatballs. Alright, so let's get to the shaping of the meatballs. So what I do is I grab a big spoon and I grab, you know, a spoonful of the meat mixture and I start shaping it. The reason I use a spoon is so that I can have similar size meatballs. You don't have to care about that. I just do that so that they can cook evenly once they're in the pan. And then once I have it in my hand, I just roll it around just like so. Alright, so for the sake of this video, I am going to keep some of these meatballs in their, you know, typical meatball shape. But to be completely honest with you guys, when I was growing up, my grandma would never make, you know, round meatballs the way you see them in the movie. And most of the time, she would always flatten them because they are so much easier to cook. So all you do is, you know, of course, have your regular meatball. And she would just, you know, flatten them a little bit, just like so, not too much, so that, you know, it could cook evenly on both sides. And trust me, it just makes all of the difference. When you cook them this way, you have more crispiness, you have like a more crispy bite all around. And all I am doing to the flat ones is that I am adding a little dent in the center so that when they cook, they can grow back into that little hole, you know? Alright, so our meatballs are all shaped up. Now we're going to finish up our sauce and then we're going to start cooking them. Alright, so as you can tell, our veggies have been cooking for a little bit. Our onion is nice and translucent now, so we are ready to add our sauce. Once I've added my sauce, I'm going to be adding some water to it, just to water it down a little bit. And then I'm going to add my seasoning. So in here I have some red pepper flakes. This is half a veggie cube, and then I have some black pepper. Then of course we're going to be adding a little bit of salt. I don't want to add too much because we do have the veggie cube that's a little salty in here. Alright, and while this is cooking, we are going to start cooking our meatballs. Alright, so our oil is hot now, so we can start adding our meatballs to our skillet. You want to make sure you wait till your oil is hot. So all we're going to be doing for our meatballs now is we're going to be letting them cook on each side for a few minutes or until they're nice, crispy and brown shade. And when that's done, we're going to flip them. If you are making the round meatballs, I haven't put them in yet, they're right here. But when you start cooking them, make sure you flip them on every side so that they can cook fully all around and all the way through. And then for our sauce, we're just gonna let it simmer for a little bit. Then we are going to add our basil leaves and I'll show you what everything looks like when it's done. Alright, so our meatballs are done. What I did for the very last step is when the meatballs were cooked, I grabbed some of them and I put them into the sauce and I left it to cook for about 5 minutes on very low heat, just so that, you know, the sauce would adhere to the meatballs and, you know, coat them and they would become, you know, very juicy and delicious. So we're gonna have a taste right now because I'm just dying to dig in, you guys. So let's do it. Alright you guys, so let's dig in. I'm gonna cut into one of the ones that was actually in the sauce, that cooked with it, and oh my god you guys, they just look so soft already. I may have sneaked one when I was cooking them, but I haven't tried the ones with the sauce, so let's see. You guys, it's really amazing how you can really taste the juiciness and the sauce inside the meatball. They're amazing. You just have to trust me on this. Alright you guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed spending time with me today in the kitchen. If you did and you would like to see more of me, you should definitely click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. Make sure you leave a like before you go and I will see you guys next time. Bye!